Well, hello and welcome to Binge Watch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the editor-in-chief of Woman and Woman & Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwen, writer on TV and Streaming Week, TV Times and What's on TV magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 29th of May 2026. Including James Graham's football-themed drama Dear England, starring Joseph Fiennes as Gareth Southgate on BBC iPlayer, and Aussie comedian Sam Campbell as a film director in the new Channel 4 comedy Make That Movie.
We'll also be checking out Apple TV sci-fi Star City, featuring Rhys Ifans and Anna Maxwell Martin, and Nicolas Cage in the 1930s set superhero series Spider Noir on Prime. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
Ben Stiller will get some divine intervention in Netflix film A Matter of Time, about a man who is visited by an unusual angel. What else is in the news, Hannah?
And Killing Eve's Jodie Comer will headline in HBO Max thriller The Chain as a mother trying to save her kidnapped daughter.
A strong and varied selection this week, I would say. We are going to start on Prime Video with a new fantasy series called Spider Noir. And here's a clip.
You used to be.
I know who I used to be. I know who I am now. I'm starting over.
Are you going to be a dick about it?
Yes, actually, a private dick, to be exact.
My friend disappeared. You're an investigator. Investigate.
Well, as the title suggests, Hannah, this is about Spider-Man, but done in a film noir way. Yeah, that's right. More importantly, it stars the fabulous Nicolas Cage. And in fact, before we started recording, I went back and watched that great YouTube video, which is called Nicolas Cage Losing His Shit, which is just clips of him freaking out in various film roles, and it's really funny. Anyway, that's by the by. In this, he plays a private investigator called Ben Reilly. So yeah, it's set in the 1930s, it's set in New York, and it's got this film noir look and feel. You can watch it in black and white, which I would recommend, but I think you can also choose to watch it in colour. Don't do that. No. Anyway, so he also has a past life as a superhero called the Spider. Yeah, kind of web spinning guy who could hang from tall buildings, etc., etc. However, he put all that behind him following a tragedy. And now, yeah, he works as a private dick, a gumshoe, doing things like spying on cheating husbands and wives. He's skint. His secretary is very funny. She's always complaining because he never earns any money. He doesn't give her any money. Anyway, it also features the fantastic Brendan Gleeson. Oh, he's so good. I saw him in The Weir in the West End. He was superb. And he plays a mob boss called Silvermane. And essentially, so the case that he takes on involves a sort of femme fatale who's a singer in a nightclub. I mean, it's classic film noir stuff, isn't it? Really good. Looks amazing. And there are these various characters in the city who appear to have developed superpowers, some of which may be familiar to you. Yes. So, Nick Cage, he's having a great laugh in this. And I would say it's just a very unusual take on the Spider-Man story. It wasn't at all what I was expecting. But it's funny, it's exciting, it looks great, it's got a good script, it's got great dialogue. I would say, yeah, even if you're not heavily into the Marvel universe, check it out.
So this is something that I've got to say to you, when I saw that we were reviewing this, I just thought this just isn't for me at all. You know, when you just look at something, you think this is just not something that I would want to actively go and watch. But it just proves that you need to push yourself out of your comfort zone, because you might well be surprised. And this is it. This is exactly that. It does completely surprise you. And Nicolas Cage absolutely becomes the character that he is, that he's portraying. I mean, it's unbelievable. Everything he ever does, he completely inhabits that person, and this is absolutely no different at all. It is really quite humorous throughout it, as you say. For me, I was just so shocked. I really felt that it had this sort of, I don't know, as one of your writers in one of your titles, Ian, said, it's an brilliantly absurd concoction. On paper, a ridiculous idea, but in execution, genius. And I think that sums it up completely. If you're a fan of Nicolas Cage, this just won't disappoint. As I say, don't be put off by what you think it might be, because actually it's something altogether completely different and very, very brilliant.
Over on BBC iPlayer, we have a new 4-part drama series called Dear England. And here's a clip.
Dear England, what I want to speak about is much bigger than football.
Gareth Southgate, the whole of England is with you.
Gareth, a simple question really. Do you think you're up to this?
England manager. Who'd want to take on this poison chalice?
Yes, so Dear England, I mean, this is obviously, as we know, an award-winning stage play, and now it's been brought to BBC One for the screen for the masses. And it's a new drama. It stars Joseph Fiennes, who makes an incredibly spookily look-alike Gareth Southgate. I really enjoyed what I've seen so far with this. This is absolutely typically a binge watch. You're going to sit there and you're going to just want to watch it completely. This series follows Gareth Southgate as he becomes the England coach back in 2016. And I think with a lot of these things, very often these dramas, it sort of... we won't remember it. It won't be in our short-term memory. It won't be of recent times. For most of us, this is recent times. We will remember this period of time. And in some ways, a period of time where people were actually quite brought together at times. And as I say, it follows Southgate. He becomes England coach in 2016. The team have never won a penalty shootout at a World Cup. And of course, Southgate, you see in the beginning of this, is still very much haunted by his own Euro 96 penalty miss. And you see John Major, who, not the actual John Major, but John Major coming in doing quite a stoic talk with him and making him feel much better, because, of course, you don't want to hear it, but it is just a game. But these lads are so young, they put so much pressure on themselves in front of so many people. And do you know what? He takes over, Gareth Southgate, and they're a young squad. They're under intense media scrutiny, and the press have, they do sort of lift people up to often pull people down, and it sort of feels like a bit like that with football. You're hero or zero, aren't you? That's sort of how it seems to me. And he begins to turn things around. He has his captain Harry Kane played by Will Antenbring. And he has the sports psychologist who's really helpful in playing that part as well, Pippa Grange, who's played in this by Jodie Whittaker. And it's 4 parts, and it is fictional, but and a bit like The Crown, you have to kind of step back and realise that this is fictional. But it's so interesting, and you get carried away and swept along with this absolutely immediately. And you see behind the curtain, you see what goes on, behind in the dressing room, I suppose. And of course, it's interspersed with the archive footage of tournaments, including the 2018 World Cup. And but it touches on quite a few bigger issues, which are really, really hard to watch, I find anyway. It looks at the pandemic. It specifically looks at racism. Absolutely awful racism after that penalty was lost. Lots of people remember, and an incredibly sort of chilling words that Gareth Southgate said at that press conference, which I still feel only happened yesterday. And it sort of really shows, what it's like for these footballers to live under the constant pressure of this fervent national expectation, and that's it's brought to life. I really, really enjoyed what I've seen so far. I do think this is the absolute meaning of binge watch, and that's exactly what you'll be doing. Ian, what did you think?
Well, I was really looking forward to this because I'm a huge fan of the playwright, James Graham, who is increasingly getting stuff on TV. He's very prolific. And yes, I've actually performed in a play he wrote about the Labour and Tory whips in the era of Margaret Thatcher, called This House. But that's by the by. So I never got to see the acclaimed stage production, and I was really happy that it was coming on to telly. It seems to have divided the critics. As you say, Fiennes, who played him on stage, he's absolutely nailed it playing Gareth Southgate. And it's notoriously difficult to make drama, convincing drama about football. The one really good example I can think of is The Damned United about Brian Clough. But, often they're not very good. I think this is good, I must say. And it's got Jodie Whittaker as the sports psychologist, Pippa Grange, that he brings in, just because for a lot of players, wearing the England shirt had almost become like a sort of a burden, because there was a lot of expectation, but also a lot of failure, a lot of scrutiny. And, being the England manager, people call it the impossible job, don't they? But, and Southgate, he really understood that because he'd famously missed that penalty himself. And it's always interesting to see the casting of actors to play real life people. So yeah, you've got all the names from Southgate's England squad, and it's just interesting to see the actors that they've cast to play them. And quite a few of them, I think, really look the part, and they've got round the issue of it's very difficult to sort of convincingly stage football action, isn't it? At a huge game, to recreate that somehow. And they've done it in really ingenious ways here. And you see fun stuff like, it was in the press, wasn't it? The players at the World Cup doing kind of races on inflatable unicorns in the swimming pool and things like that. So, I think football fans particularly will enjoy this, but you don't have to be football mad to get something out of it, I think. And although it has divided the critics, I would say I'm giving it a thumbs up. Over on Apple TV, we have a new sci-fi called Star City. And here's a clip.
I take this step for my country, for my people, and for the Marxist-Leninist way of life.
Chief designer, you made us the envy of the world, but the KGB is now more concerned than ever what the West might do.
The Americans have acquired your plans for the lunar base.
Well, you may have seen Apple TV's space race drama For All Mankind, which was about the American space program. This is an 8-part spin-off which tells it from a Soviet point of view, but it's a reimagining of the space race. Okay, so it's fictionalized, and it's basically Russia winning the space race, really. So you get 2 episodes first up, then it drops weekly. It stars the fantastic Rhys Ifans, who, funnily enough, I was rewatching Notting Hill last night, and of course he plays Hugh Grant's flatmate in that, doesn't he? Very funny. Anyway, he plays, you never find out his name, but he's referred to as the chief designer. So he's the kind of the guy who's designed all of the sort of space hardware for the Soviet space program. You've got the fantastic Anna Maxwell Martin as Lyudmila Raskova, who is head of KGB surveillance. And essentially, yeah, they think that someone is passing information to the Americans from the Russian space program. So they're covertly recording anyone who's connected with it. Like, they've got microphones hidden in their homes, and you have these secretaries who just sit there transcribing everything that they hear and putting it in a file which is passed to the KGB. And so, as well as all that intrigue and, someone gets falsely accused and tortured, it's all pretty, pretty grim stuff. There's also some thrilling action set that happens in space. There's an amazing spacewalk in episode 1. It's superb. And yes, so one person drops out of the space program, a female astronaut, and has to be replaced. So it looks great. The colours, the sets, amazing. I guess in some ways it may remind people a bit of Chernobyl, I guess, but it is an alternative history. But I think it's fantastic. The script is really good as well. I didn't really know what to expect from this, but and I didn't watch. I mean, I think we watched one episode of For All Mankind, didn't we? But I didn't see the rest of it, and I think this is really, really good. Very imaginative, but also it just has this. Although it's an alternative history, it just feels so authentic. Everything about it, it really feels like, yeah, this is what it was like in Soviet Russia if you'd been working on their space program. So yeah, really impressed. What did you think, Hannah?
I think there's a bit of a theme here today, Ian, because genuinely I wouldn't want to think I'd watch this either if this came up on my screen. It was a suggested view. I think I'd probably scroll along. But when you're doing binge watch like this, you have to watch these. And you know what? I'm really glad that I do, because it's kind of opening my eyes to genres and different things that I would just not normally gravitate towards. And as you say, the setting in this is absolutely, it's amazing. This is incredibly intriguing, and despite it being an alternative history, I think it is. It's incredibly believable. You get swept along with it very, very quickly. Seeing the story from behind the Iron Curtain, about the Soviet Union. Imagine if they did really beat the US to the moon. Particularly topical right now, I suppose. It's absolutely intriguing. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Reese Fans is I'm a big fan of, and great in this. And as I say, if you don't think it's for you, just try it, because it just might be.
Well, we're going to finish over on Channel 4 streaming with a new comedy series called Make That Movie. And here's a clip.
Hey you! Yes, you. Have you got an idea for a movie? We're always on the hunt for new submissions.
Sam Campbell, you're like my favourite director.
I'm more interested in your movie.
You're gonna make my movie! Inspired by true events.
Using real snakes.
Yes.
Sorry, how many snakes?
We need her back on Thursday, all right?
So for lots of you, you'll have seen Sam Campbell. The last place you'll have seen him probably is on Last One Laughing, which of course I think didn't he come into he got to the final, didn't he? David Mitchell just pipped him to the post. I never thought his face would crack, actually. He was brilliant. Now, I know of his work quite well. I watch him on Would I Lie to You? I'm a bit of a fan of his, but I know lots of friends and colleagues were like, who is this guy? It's just really bizarre. They couldn't quite get their head around it. Well, do you know what? You will, when you watch this, Make That Movie on Channel 4, because this is from his brain. He's a highly intellectual man, and actually very, very funny stand-up comedian, and he's landed his very own TV sitcom, and he plays this hotshot director who turns the extraordinary ideas of ordinary people into feature films called Make That Movie. And I feel like you get to see Sam a bit in this. I really do. I think you he's probably over-egging the pudding in places, of course. It's well, he says, I think, I'm playing a pretty exaggerated version of myself. And it does feel like that, but you really do. He's only 34. Do you know he won the 16th series of Taskmaster in 2023? He's a bright lad, that one. It's really different. I can only imagine them all sitting around and kind of piecing this together. It's a 6-parter. There's lots of really wacky ideas, like people turning into snakes and him having to make this movie within 3 days, and it's all quite high octane, highly energetic, interspersed with lots and lots of laughter. It's a bit different, but it's a goodie.
It's an interesting one, I have to say. And I mean, we all have, comedians who we really find hilarious and others that we don't kind of get quite so much. And I've never particularly been a Sam Campbell fan, really. And he's a very unusual guy, isn't he? For sure. What I will say about this is, I mean, it's totally different. It's just, I can't think of anything else like it, really. For one thing, so he plays a film director and he's got this whole production team and they're all like wearing these purple outfits and all their equipment is purple. It's almost kind of cartoonish in a way. And the idea is so out there. So each episode he's meeting the people who've sent in their idea for a movie. Obviously they're all actors, and these weird ideas for films. And then at the end of it, they show the film that they've made. So I haven't actually got to the end of an episode because I didn't particularly find it funny. But what I would say, as you say, it is totally his vision. I think he's just been left kind of to do whatever he wants. So it's just delivered with just such confidence, and it's so complete as a vision. It's just, I didn't particularly get into it, but you've got to give the guy some respect. And I think he's cast just from his own friendship group quite a lot of the roles. And you think of kind of the direction that comedy has been going in, which is, we've had a lot of mockumentary, a lot of comedy of embarrassment. Everything's quite kind of dry and arch and kind of ironic. This is totally different. There's something quite joyous about it in a way. It's something rather innocent and sweet. He's not kind of, sending people up or making them look ridiculous. There's just a real kind of vitality about it. So even though I would say it's not really something that I would stick with, I think as you say, if you want to kind of get to know Sam Campbell a bit better, then watch this. Well, we've got to that time, young Hannah Maladio, where we find out what the hell you've been binge watching.
Well, I'm afraid it was Super Sunday, wasn't it? So every screen in our house was really being occupied by that, and of course the Grand Prix as well. But in my own time, when I was allowed to watch the television, I was really enjoying the new Gogglebox. How about you, Ian?
Well, yes, I did see Spurs somehow manage to avoid relegation on Sunday. Now, we were spoilt for choice on BBC iPlayer this week because there's another really good drama called 2 Weeks in August, which is about this, all these people on holiday together and, things start to go wrong. In Greece, I think it is. That's highly recommended. I love it. Now, we've just got time to look ahead to next week's offering. So what is on the Binge Watch menu, Hannah?
Well, next week we've got a goodie because Diddley Squat is actually happening. I see what you did there. We're back on Clarkson's Farm for a new run of the very brilliant Jeremy Clarkson's Prime Video reality show. I cannot wait.
Ooh, and Javier Bardem will play vengeful ex-con Max Cady in Apple TV's new take on classic thriller Cape Fear. I am looking forward to that. So yes, we both look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, dear listeners,